Best of r/ Tales from Retail episode 52. So I used to work for this sporting goods store when I was in college. Pretty good job and I knew a lot of the other employees from school. Only downside of the job was, of course, the customers who would cause everyday problems for us. I just found out about a subreddit so I'll probably post more, but this is a quick story and one of my favorites. We had different sections of the store you'd be in charge of for the day when you got into work. Besides sporting goods we had footwear and clothing. This day I was in the sports section stacking basketballs when this guy comes over to me and I can already tell he's upset. He just starts with "Excuse me. I'm trying to find this sweater you got up front but you don't have any large. How can you already be out of large?" Now it's okay that this guy asked me about clothing even though I'm in sports. I'd probably do the same thing. He was genuinely mad about not having his size, which was already pretty weird. What's weirder is that I knew we just set up that display. How could we already be out of a size? I say, "I'm sorry sir, I can get someone from clothing to help you, but there should be some larges out there already." This was my first mistake. As he says, "What, you think I am lying to you or do you think I am stupid? Come, I'll show you." He's already making a scene at this point, so I follow him as he brings me to the front where the display of new sweaters are. I walk over and the second sweater on the rack is a large. I go, "Sir, there is a large right here." Customer: "No, see, you're not listening. I need large." He then points to the tag that has LG on it and goes, "I don't need XL. I don't need LG, just a large." Don't be an idiot. I'm standing there holding the sweater, confused and not knowing what to say. I go, "Sir, LG is large." This man deadass looks me in my face and goes, "What does the G stand for then?" "There's a G in large, sir." He then looks around at some people holding in laughter and take the sweater, pays for it, and is never seen again. I still have no idea what he thought LG stood for. Maybe large/grand? Thank you. Next. I work at a convenience store that has hot dogs on a roller grill. It's self-serve and typically gives us no issues. The hot dogs it houses are usually inoffensive. Plain hot dogs. No surprises within the hot dog. Just a regular, banal, clean, normal hot dog. We only carry regular hot dogs. Seems simple, right? A woman grabbed my attention and took me to the grill. She pointed to the smaller sized hot dog and asked, "What's on this hot dog?" "Nothing, ma'am. It's just a plain hot dog. It's brown though. The other ones aren't as brown. It's just been sitting on the grill longer than the other ones. I make fresher ones for you if you have the time." "Well, I don't want fresh ones if there's something in it." "There's nothing in it, ma'am. It's a plain hot dog. But it looks different. A month ago I was in here and an employee said it had something in it, but I want a plain hot dog." "Ma'am, I promise you there's nothing in it. It's just a regular hot dog that's been sitting on the grill. Is there someone else I can talk to?" The look on my poor, overworked, flu recovering manager's face when I told her that she had to solve a hot dog dispute when she was already on a conference call with her two higher ups who were chewing her out about write-offs and register shortages, and waiting to hear back from a vendor who, for 4 days in a row, has failed to deliver supplies and merchandise to our store. That look would have killed a man. I don't know how she does it. She stayed completely professional after letting out the most long-suffering sigh I've ever heard and politely let the customer know that no, there was nothing special about the fucking hot dogs. "Thank you." Next. I worked in the pets department at a big, very well-known retail chain. For a while we had a problem with our fish supplier. Changed to a cheaper supplier. Fish constantly came in with ick. Unable to sell the fish as they've infected all the other healthy ones. etc. We've got 3 rows of tanks. The row on the bottom is for the goldfish since they don't require heaters. They're on a separate filter system from the other 2 rows. Myself and my department manager are the only 2 people that always work in pets/paper/chemicals. So after she leaves at 4 PM I'm on my own and the next higher up is one of the assistant store managers. One day we don't have any goldfish at all because the ick epidemic wiped them all out. Luckily none of the other fish were ill because of the separate filter systems, so we were still able to sell them. I'm overzoning the merchandise in the cat food aisle and a lady comes over to me and asks if she can get a couple of fish. Sure, no problem. I head over there, grab a bag, and ask which fish she'd like to get. "Lady, I need a couple of the little 25-cent goldfish. Me, Mom, we don't have any goldfish at the moment. They're normally in this bottom row of tanks here. Lady, you don't have any more in the back? Me, no, Mom, we don't. This is the only place where we can store the fish. We don't keep extra tanks in the back. What you see is what you get. Lady, you're just too lazy to go back there and check. I know you have more fish back there. Me, thinking to myself, so this is how it's gonna go. I opened the lid and showed her how it was a solid wall behind the tanks. Me, as you can see, I'm not hiding any fish back there. All of our goldfish got sick and unfortunately died. That's why we don't have any in stock right now. We should get more in next week. Lady, this is unacceptable. I know you have more fish somewhere. I have a class of 25 first graders. I wanted to give them each a goldfish to teach them about life. I bought 25 of them here just a few days ago and a few died. I can't give 21 kids a fish and the other 4 nothing. What are you going to do to fix this? Go find me some more goldfish. Now. Me, there's nothing I can do. We don't have any goldfish at the moment. It's not like there's an option to get goldfish shipped to the store immediately. We get our order in weekly. Lady, oh, you think this is funny, do you? You want little children to be upset? Fine. If you won't get me some goldfish, then I want 4 of those orange fish. Pointing at the swordtails and mollies, normally between $3 to $5 each, but I want them for 25 cents each because it's your fault that those other fish died. Me, totally calm, with no idea how I managed to kill the fish while they were in her possession. Mom, I'm sorry, but I can't do that. I don't have that authority to change prices on the fish. And besides, all of these fish up on these 2 rows need filters, heaters, and tropical fish food. They require much more care than a goldfish normally would. Lady, I don't care. They're orange and I want them for 25 cents each. They look like goldfish and the kids won't know the difference. Get me your manager. Your attitude is totally uncalled for. Me, sure thing, no problem. Little did she know that the assistant manager over pets that night takes no crap from anyone. The lady left without any fish. TLDR, I have an attitude problem because I won't go to the back stock room to get more live goldfish. We don't keep live fish stored in the back room because fish tend to die if they aren't kept in a tank full of water. Thank you. Next. Working the register as lead cashier one wonderfully busy day, I had the pleasure of interacting with a rather lovely human being. This guy and his buddies were standing in line, not being too obnoxious, just a little loud. They ended up at my register, dumping their goodies on the counter while complaining about the wait. After thanking them for their patience, I tried to make small talk, but the guy decided to change the tone. He started making rude comments to his friends about cashiers. I get it, not my favorite job, but it pays the bills while I'm in school. So after I'd rung through all his items, he swiped his card through the machine. As I was hitting the fun sequences of buttons to end this excruciating encounter, he decides he's not done being a jerk. Dude, you didn't ask to see my ID for my credit card. It's your job to make sure I'm not using a stolen credit card. He elbows one of his buddies to witness this mockery. Me, oh, sorry, the system is running it as debit. Did you put in your PIN? Dude, it's not a debit card, it's a credit card. It's really not that hard. He holds up his card to show me. Look, it even says see it on the back of the card. I don't know about other retail stores, but we had already moved away from checking signatures on the back of cards against the signature line because by that time the transaction has already gone through. We don't have a definite policy of asking for it as long as the back of the card is signed. Me, alright, cool, can I see your ID? Dude, thank you, should have done that to begin with. He opens his wallet and begins fishing through his wallet, looking for his ID. After a moment a blank look crosses his face. I don't have it. Me, that's okay. I can take another form of payment. Dude, I don't have another way to pay, you have to take the card. Me, I'm sorry sir, once I've asked for it it's store policy that you have to show it. So I know we have a policy for this process when it comes to buying alcohol. I just went with the logic that the same is true for credit cards. I was pleasantly surprised he didn't throw a fit at this point, but I had used his own logic against him. After the shuffle of shame into his group of friends, one of them moves forward, swipes his debit card and pays for the stuff. I thank them for coming in as they head out the door laughing, but this time it wasn't at me. TL. Doctor customer is a jerk to cashier, insists cashier ask for his ID, doesn't have it. Surprise, you can't pay with it. Thank you. Next. Hi, I just found out this sub exists. I worked in retail for 12 years, and have a few stories to tell of my adventures. Here is one of them. Between 2010 and 2013 I was the supervisor/assistant manager of a small suitcase shop at the far end of a big shopping center in the middle of the city. The shopping center opened till late on weekdays, and although it was usually pretty dead for us on an evening, we were obliged to stay open until the center itself closed. For this reason, most evenings, we only had one staff member working. On this particular evening, I was the lone worker. About an hour before closing time, a lady came into the store wanting to buy a suitcase. Let's call her Karen. The sale passed without incident. I helped Karen choose a case, which she happily bought. By this time it was 45 minutes till closing time. She told me she has some more shopping to do in the center, so asked me if she could leave the case with me to collect later. This was a service we offered. We understand that no one wants to carry a suitcase around with them during shopping, so I dutifully put her details on it and placed it behind the till. I also warned her that the store would be closing in 45 minutes time, so she would need to collect it either before then, or tomorrow. Flash forward 30 minutes. No sign of her. I poked me head out of the shop onto the concourse, but couldn't see her anywhere. I started the shutting down of the store, getting things ready for closing. 5 minutes to closing time. Karen still nowhere to be seen. Then, when the hour rolled over, she still hadn't reappeared. Again, I looked out onto the concourse, but no one was there, so I closed up the shop and started counting the tills and doing the end of day banking. Most of the end of day banking was done in the back office, but I left the storefront lights on so that if she did reappear, she would know I am still in store. I should also note that I only got paid up until the store closed. So all the end of day banking and other jobs were effectively in my own time. I left the store at about 15 minutes after closing time, turning off the lights and rolling the shutters down. Still no sign of Karen. The shopping center had a 24-hour supermarket attached to it, and it just so happened that I needed to buy some things for home, including my meal for the evening. After locking up, I headed straight to the supermarket. After about, maybe 20 minutes in there, I am just heading to the tills to pay, and who should I see storming towards me, face like thunder? It's Karen. She unleashed her fury upon me. How dare I lock up the store with her purchases still inside? It was illegal to keep her purchase from her. It was theft, and she was going to call the police. I'm sure you can imagine the sort of stuff she was shouting at me for having the audacity to lock up and go home at the appointed time, and not wait an unknown amount of time for her to return. All the while, she was shouting at me, and this alerted the staff to her tirade. The staff at the supermarket called the center security. When they appeared, they talked to her, and she started shouting at them about me, about how I should be fired, and that I have stolen off her. I explained to them my side of the story. Thankfully they knew me, and knew that she was being ridiculous. They marched her, and me, to the store, where I opened up, got her suitcase for her, and she was then banned for life from the center. She left the building after being escorted to the exit, and walked away still hurling abuse towards us, about how she was going to the media about this, and how we should all be fired. I never saw her again, and the security guards checked up on me the next day to make sure I was okay. TLDR. Nightmare customer leaves purchase in store whilst shopping, misses closing time, then shouts abuse at shop clerk who served her for daring to close the store up at closing time. Thank you. Next. Working in retail for 5 years means I have plenty of stories. Too many to count. But this is something that has stuck with me. I'll likely put more stories up at some point. Where I used to work, a large department type store, we would shut at 9 o'clock every night. It wasn't great, but not so bad. Except for the fact that we would have to wait for customers to leave the store before we could leave through the staff exit for security issues. Okay, fine. Except, every night, This meant having to stay up to 15 minutes late. It's not a huge amount of time, but it certainly adds up. It certainly means that it is hard to plan whatever you've got going on. Before I had my own form of transportation, it usually meant I missed my bus, meaning I had to wait an extra hour for the next one. Less than ideal, right? I was quick to arrange my own form of transportation, which was great. Except I still hated the fact that I had to stay behind so late. Where I am, it is actually illegal to expect employees to stay without being paid. I knew this for a fact, so I changed tactics. I started parking in the mall car park. Our store was a part of this mall. Normally, you couldn't, because you would stay too long and get clamped/fined. However, my form of transportation that I chose was a scooter. No limits on parking, and they don't/can't get clamped. From that moment on, I started to leave bang on 9 o'clock. I would log out of the system when it said 9, and go home. After a few weeks of this, the manager noticed. He told me that I wasn't allowed to leave until all the customers were served. I told him that that was fine, but that he had to pay me until I left. He told me that wouldn't happen, because it was only a couple of minutes. I argued that this was every night, and those few minutes add up to hours of my time. I told him I had plans, and I could not be late to those plans. In his eyes, this didn't matter. Instead, he told me that staying late after work would make up for all the times I was late to work. I laughed, and asked him to show me proof of even one instance of tardiness. Even though I had been working here for years at this point, I knew there wouldn't even be one. Why? Because every shift I would eat in the lunchroom before I start, and usually clock in a few minutes early anyway. I still left at bang on 9 o'clock, and he eventually dropped it. My favorite thing was when other 9 o'clock finishers started doing the same, leaving him along to deal with the overstaying customers. No regrets. Thank you. Next. I'm a customer service rep at a department store. This story happened the other day and I just need to share it. This lady comes up to me to make a purchase. After everything is rung up, surprise, surprise, she doesn't have her credit card, so I do an account lookup with her driver's license. She willingly hands it to me so I can start the lookup. I have to verify that a name, birthday, and address match the account that pulls up after she enters in some information. This is a credit card after all. Before she enters in her information, she wants her license back. I say no, I need to verify some information first, then I will hand it back to you. This did not fly in her books. She went off the rail exclaiming, I've never had anyone say that to me before. And that is a really dumb policy. Why does it matter? Just let me charge it. I give her my it's policy. Everyone should do this. The person who didn't can lose their job for not checking. We are looking up a credit card account. Not checking is fraud, etc. She agreed when I said fraud and whatnot. I did double check that she matched the photo, because going off the rails like that can be a sign that it's not her credit card. I have never had someone get upset at me making sure that it's their account before. Every single security measure is to prevent someone from using your account fraudulently. She did calm down towards the end, but I did not expect her to explode.